It is time for another edition of the Fight HQ podcast. Of course, I'm Jason Floyd, as always, joined by the fighter Pete Rogers Jr. Pete, how's it going, man?
What's up, Jason? You know how it is. Crazy as ever. Always crazy around these, around my house, around the gym, just in my life in general. And I know that you're always dealing with the same exact stuff.
Oh, yeah. It was, it's been a busy day. Let's just say that. It's been a busy day for me. I just got done doing my other podcast, the MMA Report podcast. That'll be up on the podcast channels here a little later on. Of course, this will be on the podcast channel as well if you want to check out the audio version. Maybe you want to catch the replay of the show, and maybe you're driving to work. You want to listen to the show. Maybe if you missed something, be sure to look at that on the podcast channels. Of course, we got our Discord channel. Totally free to join. Always great conversations going on in that channel, so be sure to check out that. Also, Pete's got his Patreon channel. Where you want to get that algorithm Pete has. Of course, coming here off UFC Atlanta, where look, tomorrow. The crazy thing about last week with UFC Atlanta and DraftKings, that the fact that we only had two fighters score 100 points.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see that far too often, where the whole slate is somewhat of a dud scoring wise, like a low scoring slate. And of course, the one time I doubt the vet that, I shouldn't have doubted Kamaru Usman. I bought into the hype a little bit, hindsight's 2020. But you weigh a ton of things. You weigh momentum, you weigh, activity, you weigh injuries. But I mean, granted, his knees have been like that his entire career. Look at how successful he's been. So maybe I just bought into a little too much of stuff. All in all, though, it was a solid week. One where I thought Blaydes should have clearly had a disqualification win, even if he had some Hollywood level acting, perhaps. But it was just I'm trying to pull up the fights from last week, and it was like Usman went out there, did well. Namajunas showed that experience is, both Usman and Namajunas proved that experience is something you really can't put a price on. Shabazian looked good. That fight didn't deliver. Barcelos, I thought, looked probably one of the most impressive performances on the entire slate. But maybe that's more about Cody Garbrandt than anything. And Garbrandt really just kind of biting on a lot of the takedown attempts and utilizing good feints, good footwork from Barcelos led to a ton of tentative moments from Cody Garbrandt. Abdul Malik, that was weird. Cody Brundage shells up again. Yes, he did get hit in the head. It was clearly heads collided. But when I tell you that happens in wrestling practice, when that happens in practice in general, it wasn't egregious. I don't know, man. Cody is always involved in some type of controversy, and I know that he's a good guy, but good Lord. And then Menefield went out there, and his opponent, Umar Sy did nothing. Really just didn't live up to the crazy minus 700 price tag that was attached to him. Chiesa didn't wrestle at all, chose to strike with McGee, and it wasn't like the wrestling was negated. It was just terrible. Malcolm Wellmaker looked every bit of minus 2,100, even though that's crazy. Cody Durden looked like he was starting to develop, gain some momentum and get back into the fight, and Ochoa just murks him early in round 2. Ricky Simone did what a minus 500 favorite should do. Phil Rowe, Angelusa stack was optimal, which, if you go and you look at my projections, two of the highest projected fighters on the entire slate, and I wonder if anybody that used my projections did stack it, because I was expecting chaos, and clearly putting both of them in there with Phil Rowe coming back in the third round and putting together a finish was excellent. And then, just complete dart throw, Vanessa Demopoulos, super undersized, but it's just women's MMA. I didn't like many dogs, and the dog that I should have liked was Kamaru Usman, and I fell victim to the slate. So I hope you guys cashed, and sorry if I took too much time kind of recapping last week, but me not being on the show with Jason kind of hurt my heart a little bit, and I appreciate Jason, putting it all on his back and carrying the weight of Fight HQ, because Jason is the man, and we're both very, very busy. So kudos to Jason.
Let's just say There was a point on Friday. I didn't think there was going to be a show because I thought I was going to be stuck in Houston. So yeah, trying to make my connecting flight there. You know, the one thing I will say though is, man, Phil Rowe fighting for your dollar, baby. I mean,
I love it.
You just sitting there, and then poor Lusa, man. Mouthpiece is out for a good minute, and I want to say it was Dominic Cruz on the broadcast. It's just like, hey, man, he's just lucky his teeth ain't going through his skin right now.
And you know, what's crazy is I was waiting for, like, you know, the crazy blitz of Phil Rowe, and then, like, in the middle of it, the ref to intervene and then try to fix the mouthpiece, which they always do at the wrong moments. But this guy just said, dude, I'm stepping over the mouthpiece. I'm letting them kind of look like hillbillies at the end. If they lose all their teeth, so be it. But yeah, I mean, there was definitely a moment to go in there and intervene before, you know, you had Phil Rowe just kind of putting cane choke slam hold on Angelusa on the cage and just hooker cutting him. I'm not even going to call it a hook or an uppercut. He's just hooker cutting him. He's just 45ing him right in the face. But yeah, that was a brutal finish, and Angelusa a little too tough for his own damn good.
But as we move ahead to look at this UFC card coming up here on Saturday, by the way, early start time on Saturday here in the United States, 12 o'clock Eastern time will be our lock with the prelims main card, 3 p.m. Eastern time. You know, I think it's a nice 1-2 punch combination when we talk about the main event and co-main event. You know, you look at Ignacio Bahamondes getting a big step up in competition following that win against Jalen Turner, taking on Rafael Fiziev, who, of course, you know, things have not gone well for him in his last 3 fights. You know, he comes back earlier on this year, takes a short notice replacement fight against Justin Gaethje after the leg injury. And then, you know, you look at the fight at the top of this card with Jamahal Hill and Khalil Rountree. I mean, look, I think it's going to be, from a DraftKings perspective, I think it's going to be very difficult to get away from the main event, co-main event. I'm expecting massive ownership on all 4 sides of this one.
Yeah, I definitely think, I haven't even really looked at the salaries. I definitely think, I have it right on my sheet, don't I? Yeah, I do. Yeah, the main event I'm definitely getting a hold of because 7,800 for Hill, 8,400 for Rountree totally makes sense. 8,200, 8,000 fight for a fight that I project to go the distance. I don't know if it's going to be necessary. You know, like, it's going to be action packed. You have Rafael Fiziev fighting in, you know, home territory. So I do feel like that is very interesting for 3 fighters on this card. Or technically 3 fighters: Nazim, Sadykhov, Rafael Fiziev, and then who's the third? Is it Mykybek Orolbai? No, that's not it. Is it?
It's not Musayev, is it?
Bro, I saw a photo of it. I gotta figure it out. Hold on, I gotta look at the flags. Yeah, it is Musayev. Thank you. It is Musayev. It's Musayev, Nazim, Sadykhov, and Rafael Fiziev. So those 3 fighters. Don't necessarily know if they're going to get like a hometown rub or whatnot, but it's a big deal. Like, it's a big deal because the UFC is going to uncharted territory, the first fight there. You know, like, it's a big deal. These guys are superstars within their home countries. So, you know, international combat sports athletes tend to have a ton more popularity than United States fighters. So when home country fighters get into the UFC, it's a major deal. Like, they probably land endorsement deals that are kind of untouchable inside the United States. Like, you know, so I would expect that this is a lot. And, you know, Fiziev's in a very tough matchup against Ignacio Bahamondes. The price tag is very easy to get to, 8,200, 8,000. It's just one where, like, I'm wrong most of the time on that damn salary anyway. So I may try to just, you know, leave it alone and hopes that it goes 15 minutes. But the main event is going to be a priority for me.
Yeah. I was talking about this on the Amer Report a little earlier tonight. I feel like it seems like a lot of people are down on Jamahal Hill, and that to me it's from a salary perspective. I mean, when you look at the salaries and talking about game theory, we've got 9,000 fighters this week. One of those being Curtis Blaydes, and we all know about Curtis Blaydes and that wrestling ability, and kind of it's a weird matchup for Curtis Blaydes just because of, you know, where he's been in the UFC heavyweight division. When you're talking about, you know, his last fight is against I mean, technically, I guess he is the interim heavyweight champion, maybe the undisputed champion in the very near future because of what's going on with John Jones. Got a ton of fighters in the 8,000 range in this one. The 7,000 range I think is very interesting this week. Jamahal Hill really sticks out. I mean, God, I would say this: the first fight of the night, I don't trust either one of those damn guys.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. I'm looking at each salary right now, and some weeks I'm in love with the 9,000 options. I'm not really in love with them. I got to tell you, I'm not really in love. I love Oban Elliott, but I don't know about for DFS. I like Nazim Sadykhov, and I think it's probably more about his opponent than anything for the price tag.
Mm-hmm.
Tagir Ulanbekov, definitely don't like that price tag, even though I know that his path is tons of takedowns. I mean, he is going up against a very talented fighter as well. Mm-hmm. One defeat on Maxim's career, so that's not an easy fight. Curtis Blaydes, heavyweight fighter, heavyweight divisions tend to have high finish rates. And then you pair Curtis Blaydes' his takedown upside. That's massive. But, I don't understand why the UFC is so set on this matchup. If I'm not mistaken, this fight with Kuniev is, the third time it's been rebooked.
Correct.
Or
yeah.
the third time it's supposed to be,
yes.
What's the deal? Does the UFC know something about Kuniev? Are they think that he's, the next big thing that they can get behind or something?
So it was supposed to initially take place back in February. Bout gets rescheduled to March. Then Blaydes pulls out due to illness, which, as I recall, wasn't that on fight night?
Yeah.
I want to say.
It was.
And so now it gets booked here. I mean, and this is UFC debut. I mean, it's one of these things where I think there's certain fighters who just find themselves in a very weird predicament in the UFC, just kind of based on where their career has gone. And we'll talk more about Blaydes when we get to that fight. I mean, with Curtis Blaydes, I ultimately sit there and I just think that because of his wrestling ability, God, what if he had a jiu-jitsu game?
I know. It's wasted. It's so wasted. It's I don't understand why he, and then you see the reverse where you see guys that have very good ground games, but if they could incorporate ground and pound, they'd take it to another level. Mm-hmm. Like Khabib Nurmagomedov. I mean, granted, I'm comparing him to one of the greatest of all time, but he has smothering wrestling. Mm-hmm. He had unbelievable ground and pound, as demonstrated in the Michael Johnson fight. And then I feel like he started to not get soft as the years went on, but he's I'm just going to be more efficient. I'm just going to tap people out easier. Submits Justin Gaethje. You know what I mean? Just doesn't want to obliterate people on the mat. Would rather just sub them. I don't know. But Curtis Blaydes at times forgets that he's a wrestler and he just trades. So it's man, oh man, the guy, if he laces up his wrestling shoes, the guy could beat anybody. He could beat anybody. I really think I would love to see him wrestle John Jones because I would love to see how that would be. But you can't trust the fight IQ sometimes of some of these fighters, and it's just they have a path. Will they choose the correct one?
Yeah, I mean, Blaydes is always going to be a guy that's going to stick out to you just because of the ability to rack up the points on the ground. I mean, look, we saw last week with Usman getting 4 takedowns, nearly 13 minutes of control time. I mean, you can rack up the points in that light. Of course, if you do have any questions on the fight, you can line those up, whether it's on YouTube. Also, you can do that in our Discord channel as well. We'll get to those Discord questions at the end of the show. But if you have a question about a particular fight, as Pete is breaking it down, be sure to line up in chat. We'll talk about your question. Let's get right into the main event. We got Jamahal Hill taking on Khalil Rountree. Jamahal Hill 7,800 on DK. Khalil Rountree is 8,400. Of course, Jamahal Hill, he's lost back-to-back fights. You got to go back to 2023, the last time he got a victory there. He will have a 3-inch reach advantage this one. I mean, the one stat that certainly sticks out to you about Jamahal Hill is that strikes land per minute, 7.05. Khalil Rountree, I mean, look, in his last matchup against Alex, we might have all disrespected Khalil Rountree heading into that matchup.
Oh, yeah.
And Pete, he earned everyone's respect with how he went out there and competed in that fight.
Yes, he did. And I'm eager to see if he left himself in the cage that night or parts of himself in the cage that night because he did take a ton of damage, Jason. I mean, his face was obliterated by the end of it. I mean, it was disgusting. He went out there, he earned our respect. He went toe to toe with Alex Pereira, hurting him, having a war with a guy that has one touch power. But ultimately, he did get finished in that fight. But he competed a lot closer to Alex Pereira's level than we were expecting, or at least I was expecting. And it's hard for me to get behind anybody a part of Syndicate. We know that. But he's got my respect. And at 8,400, I think it's not a bad price tag, but I do think that the recency bias is somewhat attached to Khalil Rountree, making him a favorite in this matchup. Even though it's not bad, it's not like he's an aggressive favorite like Joaquin Buckley was over Kamaru Usman. But I do think that there are some question marks, right? Like, for instance, his striking accuracy sits at 38%. Okay, he lands 3.73 strikes landed per minute, which translates to 9.8 strikes attempted per minute. So 9.8 attempted, whereas Jamahal Hill, much more accurate on the feet, 53% striking accuracy, 7.05 strikes landed per minute, translates to 13 strikes attempted per minute. So he's attempting more than Khalil Rountree, and he's landing more. Both of them have somewhat poor striking defense because usually they are the great bullies, but not too great at being the nail in certain moments. 45% striking defense for Khalil Rountree, 48% for Jamahal Hill. You have 1 year younger Jamahal Hill, 6 inches in the height plus reach department for Jamahal Hill as well. So this is totally a buy low spot on Jamahal Hill. And I think everybody could be out on Jamahal Hill. And I was kind of thinking that initially. And then I'm like, man, I can't do what everybody's doing. Like, I can't be on Jamahal Hill when, like, I thought that me personally, I thought he was going to knock out Alex Pereira. Wrong. Got walked into a beautiful left hook. Then I also thought that he was going to beat Yuri Prochazka. Both two horrible calls in hindsight. But it's the straight left hand. It's the straight punches. It is the boxing, despite him having awful footwork. I mean, his footwork is not what brought him to the dance. It's his aggressiveness of throwing hard punches, throwing very good volume, having a good pace, having a good gas tank, having a good motor. So I do think that he can pepper Khalil Rountree, a guy with more of a Muay Thai style. Now, this will be two southpaws going at it. Jamahal Hill will mix in other stances. But as always, in every Jamahal Hill fight, I'm worried about people flattening his tires. I'm worried about people kicking the calf, targeting the Achilles, which was a significant injury, which a lot of fighters never come back, or athletes in general don't come back from. An Achilles injury is like old school ACL injury, where people do not recover from it, or they're not the same ever going forward. Did he come back too soon coming off that injury? Yeah, probably. But I do think the skill set's still there. And granted, how can I hate on Khalil Rountree for taking damage when Jamahal Hill was hurt numerous times and finished by Yuri Prochazka and was finished against Alex Pereira? So this is a crossroads fight, right? Like, both of them have taken a ton of damage lately. They have excellent offense, more volume on the Jamahal Hill side. I probably will give the power edge to Khalil Rountree, but he's way more selective. It's a buy low spot, right? And MMA math is not how you predict fights, or at least you shouldn't. I do think that this could be an interesting spot to buy low on Sweet Dreams Jamahal Hill. And I think I'm going to do it, Jason. I think I'm going to slightly lean towards him. I listened to several interviews from him, and he talked about, preparing for a Muay Thai style like Khalil Rountree. Who did he go see, Jason? He went and spent time with Chidi and Anthony Njokuani. I think that's two major developments in his camp, and ones that will prepare you to fight a Muay Thai fighter of Khalil Rountree's caliber. Chidi's able to switch stances, and he might have some of the best Muay Thai in the game right now, to be honest. And you know me, I love strikers, and getting looks from high-level guys like that, a part of your whole camp, or for a majority of it, will be beneficial. So, yeah, I'm not going to back the Syndicate guy. I'm not hating on Syndicate, and that's the only reason. But I'm going to just buy low. Like, I think it's a really close fight, right? Like, I have it projected pretty close. I can see a path for Jamahal Hill to go out there and just piece up Khalil Rountree en route to a finish. I can see Khalil Rountree going out there flattening the tires of Jamahal Hill and then start to land heavy shots. And maybe Jamahal Hill has just never been the same. He's already reached his peak. But Khalil's a guy that I've never really been the highest on, Jason. I mean, I've been picking against him several times, and Dustin Jacoby's one that I picked to beat, Khalil Rountree, and I'm pretty sure that he did beat him, unlike what the judges saw that night. So I think that Jamahal Hill can take some things away from that fight and go out there and execute with long, straight shots, big, straight left hand, and avoid the power for the most part. So give me Jamahal Hill as the slight underdog here. In general, though, I'm smashing this fight for fight exposure. I don't think it goes the distance. I think somebody gets knocked out, and give me Jamahal Hill to come through here at 7,800.
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about someone going for takedowns in this one. But I like the point that you brought up there right at the beginning part of, did Khalil leave part of him in the cage that night against Alex? I mean, I think the one thing that when you look at Khalil, I mean, it was a title fight that a lot of people kind of question him being put in that position. Just, when you look at his resume of what he's done there. But I think it should be, a fan-friendly type fight to watch. You just, I think the only fear I would say if from a DFS perspective is if it's low volume. I mean, I don't think it will be, but that'd be my only fear just because, I mean, you look at me, but I just feel like honestly, if you would have told me what, the price point's 8,400, 7,800, I think I would have had it flip-flopped.
Yeah. I mean, it just goes to show you the game is you're only as good as your last fight. And people are high on the performance of Khalil Rountree against Alex Pereira. And people are very low on Jamahal Hill's performance against Yuri Prochazka. In this game, you're only as good as your last fight. And that's just how it is in everybody's eyes. And you can go from being a massive favorite and a massive fan-friendly guy when everybody backs you to now you're cringeworthy and people are doubting you. So, I'm excited to see it because initially I after the Pereira performance, I said, shoot, I might be underestimating Khalil Rountree. But now after fight film and everything and just kind of the interviews and everything I'm seeing, and I use my model, I really like Jamahal Hill to kind of just piece him up a little bit en route to a finish. But yeah, I mean, and then if you look at strength of schedule too, you got Khalil Rountree fighting Anthony Smith on short notice. You have Khalil Rountree piecing up. So, I mean, he's had a good strength of schedule, but I think Jamahal Hill's had a pretty damn tough one. Chris Daukaus, he lost to Dustin Jacoby. Carl Roberson, Modestas Bukauskas. I mean, it's not the same. In my eyes, it's not the same.
And also, I look at this as a situation, if you're in the Jamahal Hill camp, where, obviously the UFC wants to do Ankalaev and Alex as a rematch. But I don't know if you saw this. Alex put a photo out there. He's weighing 243 pounds right now. So people are now speculating, could he be going up to heavyweight to take on Tom Aspinall? And then Yuri would be the next guy in line, clearly, at 205 pounds. But a Jamahal Hill win here and puts himself right back into that equation. And to me, the pick is going to be Jamahal Hill in terms of that one. Next up, we get in the matchup here in the co-main events, the lightweight matchup, Rafael Fiziev taking on Ignacio Bahamondes. Bahamondes, 8,200. Fiziev is 8,000. Mentioned right when we started kind of talking about the show, this fight a little bit earlier. Fiziev has lost 3 in a row. His last win came back in 2022 against Rafael dos Anjos, of course, coming back earlier this year against Justin Gaethje. First fight in a year and a half after that injury. Walks away with a unanimous decision loss. Bahamondes won 3 in a row, all via first round finish. He does have a 4-inch reach advantage. And Pete, one of the stats that sticks out to you about Bahamondes is that strikes land per minute, 7.09.
Yeah, so this fight's going to be unbelievable. And admittedly, I've been flip-flopping on this fight. I love both fighters. I really do. I've been a Rafael Fiziev backer ever since I've been addicted to watching Tiger Muay Thai, their socials, and wanting to go out there and train at Tiger and learn from Rafael Fiziev. And then when he came into the UFC, he got sparked, and I'm like, man, I thought he was nasty. And then he went on a tear, and he's been a force ever since. And he's had a very, very strong strength of schedule. Ignacio Bahamondes is a very flashy fighter and one that is dangerous with flair, where I think Rafael Fiziev is the better technician of the two. So you have a beautiful matchup of flair versus technique and basics. And I think the Rafael Fiziev is so basic that it may benefit him in this situation because he's not going to make mistakes. And, the pace rating of Ignacio Bahamondes is pretty high. 7.09 significant strikes landed per minute, as Jason stated. 4.85 for Rafael Fiziev. But then when we go to the striking accuracy, 47% striking accuracy for Ignacio Bahamondes in comparison to 52% striking accuracy for Rafael Fiziev. So, yes, Ignacio Bahamondes is attempting about 15 strikes per minute. Fiziev is attempting about 9, but Rafael Fiziev is a little bit more accurate with his shots. And not only that, Jason, his shots have more power attached to them. So I think that they can influence the judges. I really do. Where you got the volume guy on one side and you have the power guy and just the aggressive combinations of Rafael Fiziev. So then you combine the fact that he's in his home country. So it's like, my goodness, I mean, I don't want to put all my chips into that home country basket, but it's a big difference maker, right? Like, we're not talking about a guy fighting in his hometown city in the United States, like in Atlanta last week, which is still a big deal because you want to perform for your hometown people. But the fact that the UFC is coming in a historic event in your home country and you're on the card, you need to deliver. And I do think that this is an adequate matchup for both fighters. You have Ignacio Bahamondes looking to climb the rankings and get a name attached to start skyrocketing towards title contention. And then you have Rafael Fiziev to ascend up the ladder as well after having very, very big fights with Justin Gaethje and then having the unfortunate injury against Mateusz Gamrot. So, like, he's 0-3 in his past 3. Gaethje decision, injury to Gamrot, majority decision against Gaethje. So, and then prior to that, Rafael dos Anjos. Whereas Ignacio Bahamondes, if I rattle off who he's fought, Jalen Turner, okay, Manuel Torres, okay, Christos Giagos, and then Ludovic Klein. Doesn't have the same ring to it, right? Like, I mean, like, most of those fighters are volatile fighters, whereas Justin Gaethje is absolutely legit. Mateusz Gamrot, absolutely legit. And this is a tailor-made striking affair for both guys to go out there. I don't expect anybody to attempt takedowns. If anybody attempts a takedown, oddly enough, I think it's Rafael Fiziev. He has it in his bag. 0.5 takedowns landed per 15 minutes, 57% takedown accuracy is about less than 1 per fight, but he can do it. The 4 years younger Ignacio Bahamondes has crazy volume, has an 11-inch reach advantage. So that's 11-inch height plus reach advantage, which is crazy to overcome. But if there's a fighter of a striking caliber to do it, it is Rafael Fiziev. I'm torn on the fight, Jason, and I'm very torn. I think it's a very close fight. You got volume. You have thud and power on the other side. Good body work from Fiziev. He can kick. His switch kicks are crazy. And I think that if somebody gets hurt in this fight, I think Ignacio Bahamondes gets hurt. So, I don't know about you. Initially, I was going Bahamondes, and I think I'm changing. I think I'm going to go with Rafael Fiziev, but it's a close one. It's too close for me to bet on it, and probably one that's too close for me to include in my DFS lineups unless I hate the rest of the underdogs, because I don't necessarily think it scores all that well. But maybe Fiziev will have to up the volume if he wants a shot at winning a decision against Ignacio Bahamondes.
Yeah, I mean, I look at one of the things that sticks out to you is it's you've got the young up and coming guy. A nice win against Jalen Turner. I mean, a top 10 type lightweight win, in his last matchup. But when you look at who Rafael Fiziev has been fighting in comparison, it's just it's a different world, and so I just kind of wonder, and also Fiziev, second fight back after the leg injury, stepping in short notice. I mean, I like Bahamondes a lot. I just wonder if this is a little too fast. When you're talking about Fiziev, when we're talking about a top 5 to 7 guy in the world.
Are we aligned in the same back-to-back underdog picks? Are you going to be going with Fiziev in this one too?
Yeah, I like Fiziev in this one as well. Yeah.
Wow.
Hey! What do you always say? Main event, co-main event, prioritize underdogs.
Yeah, I mean, look at it. Look at last week, right? Like even Miranda Maverick looked good against Rose Namajunas in moments.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about very competitive fighters, and some of them on the ascent. Like they're ascending up the rankings, and everything's about timing and momentum and matchups, and just like, the wrestling was too good for Kamaru Usman last week, and Rose's experience shined through. But Miranda Maverick was live; she was totally live to win that fight.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things, and last week on the show, I was getting high on Rose Namajunas just because I was thinking, man, this could be a sneaky finish. Unfortunately, betting was not very friendly to me last Saturday. Man,
Me either, bro.
ooh, I
Me
took a
either.
bloodbath. Oh, I took a bloodbath. You know what? What's crazy is I was sitting there when I was making my bets. And one of the things I really like to do is just make my bets and let the fights play out. And I kept looking at that Usman money line going, I should have put a unit on it, or at least a half unit on it.
Yeah, well, bro, I said it to my buddy. My buddy Dan talked to me at a kid's birthday party. And he was like, "Hey, I think Usman's got it." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll tell you what. I don't agree with the line. I didn't agree with the line at all. Like, I didn't think like Buckley should have been that like big of a favorite. I mean, look what Usman did against Khamzat Chimaev on short notice at 185.
Yeah.
It's just like, why unless everybody was buying in that Buckley was going to knock him out. And I'm like, I can see Buckley being a favorite, like maybe minus 140. But where he was going off at, it was just like, there's value on Usman.
Yeah, was he 3-1 last week or something like that?
So,
It was a crazy number.
I think he ballooned to that. Yeah.
It was a crazy number, but yeah, man, great performance by the former champion Kamaru Usman. Next up, we got a heavyweight matchup: Curtis Blaydes taking on Rizvan Kuniev. Kuniev 7,100 DK. Curtis Blaydes is 9,100. We haven't seen Curtis Blaydes in 11 months. That loss against Tom Aspinall, a 60-second loss in that one. And I know a lot of people in Discord are talking about, hey, we haven't been seeing the wrestling for Curtis Blaydes, but Curtis Blaydes is a wrestler. I mean, I think sometimes he has fallen in love with his hands. I just wish he would. God, like being in Colorado too, man. It's amazing because there's some great jiu-jitsu gyms out there, and it's just I've looked at Curtis Blaydes and like, man, if he actually just, because there's times where you watch a Curtis Blaydes fight and he's in this dominant position and I'm just like, God, bro, the neck is there. Just take it.
Yeah.
Just take it. And that becomes a frustrating thing. And then you made a great point a little bit earlier when you talked about this matchup is Kuniev, fought twice on the Contender Series, fought in PFL, and this is the third time this fight has been booked. And it's just like, does the UFC just know something, or is this almost a situation where maybe a lot of fighters in the top 10 are just like, hey, I just don't want to go against Curtis Blaydes?
I think that, since you and I just said that, right, I was thinking to myself, because I see this fight approaching, so I'm kind of prepping myself mentally. And I'm like, maybe Kuniev's the only one with balls enough to freaking accept a fight against Curtis Blaydes. Because, like, everybody knows it's a horrible matchup for them. He's a guy that trains at elevation, that should be weaponizing his cardio, that should be lacing up those wrestling shoes, should be giving people direct flights to take down city. There's no reason why Curtis Blaydes should go out there trading like a brawler, trading like a BKFC guy, trading like a one-dimensional fighter, because he's so talented in all areas, especially when you've been knocked out as many times as Curtis Blaydes has. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Weaponize your cardio, go out there, put heavyweights on one leg, make them, manipulate their balance with a single leg. You heard Daniel Cormier talking about it last weekend, and I've been saying that for years. Don't shoot double legs against heavyweights and end up underneath their heavy hips. Manipulate them. Get them on one leg. Test their balance. Start off with a single. Chain it to something else. Curtis Blaydes has high potential against anybody in this division, and this is clearly a winnable fight for him. And maybe it is the only guy they want Curtis Blaydes to get back on track. Kuniev is very dangerous, very good in the clinch, good hands, good striking in general. Does have some wrestling, but we'll have to see if it's really up to Curtis Blaydes' takedown attempts level. Because I do think that the way that Blaydes can chain takedowns together is like, I think if he went out there and wrestled people from the onset, he could probably be champion. I'm being honest. I think that he can get everybody problems, but this is just so much unknown surrounding Kuniev. 7,100, it is heavyweight MMA. It is very volatile. Maybe the UFC knows something we don't. And maybe that's why, like, people, including myself, will be, targeting Kuniev as an underdog, as a dart throw. But I don't know. I can't be picking him over Curtis Blaydes because Blaydes has what? Lost to Tom Aspinall? Like, okay, it's no big deal, And like Jailton Almeida, he went out there and then was getting taken down and then ultimately came back and won that fight. So I'm not going to pick against Curtis Blaydes against a debuting guy. I mean, that would be unbelievable for the debuting guy to come in here and to beat Curtis Blaydes.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, I know one of the questions already come in is, top pump plays. And, when you look at that, 7,400 and below, Kuniev is probably the guy. I mean, it's heavyweight MMA. Who knows? Maybe he just goes out there. He can, he can make this a stand-up fight, and he can go out there and knock out Curtis Blaydes. But overall, give me Curtis Blaydes in this one. Next up, we've got the UFC debut. Musayev, of course, you may remember him from a short stint in Bellator. Had 8 fights over in Rizin, where he went 7-1, taking on Mykybek Orolbai 8,500 on DK. Musayev is 7,700. Musayev, we've not seen him since November of 2023. Kind of, unfortunately, one of the fighters that just got screwed by PFL. I mean, let's just call it what it is. I mean, there's so many fighters that we saw that just sat on the sidelines. I mean, and just not be able to get a fight. Orolbai, last time we saw was back in October, that split decision loss against Rebecca, and prior to that, he had won both of his 2 previous UFC fights, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, this is a crazy matchup to debut in the UFC. Like Mykybek Orolbai is damn talented, like insanely talented in the takedown department. I mean, the way that Orolbai chains takedowns together. I mean, if I'm looking at the stats, 5.36 takedowns landed per 15 minutes, 43% accuracy means he's attempting about 12.5 takedowns per 15 minutes. Granted, he's had a ton of success against lower level competition of types of guys, but I think like there ain't going to be too many people that want to go against him, because he landed 7 and dominated Uros Medic on short notice. Landed 5 against Elvis Brenner. Knocked him down, led to a unanimous decision. Was doing well. Was getting the shit kicked out of him against Mateusz Rebecki, but started to come back. Landed 2 takedowns in his own right, and like just demonstrated so much toughness. And we have Tofiq Musayev coming in here, which, if you're unfamiliar, competed in Rizin, competed in Bellator, super talented on the feet, does have wrestling offensively and defensively, but I don't think it's to the caliber of Mykybek Orolbai or to the volume of Mykybek Orolbai. Orolbai looks like a very, very special talent within the division, and one where I think it's a tough out, because even Mateusz Rebecki hit him with everything, and a thunderous puncher in Rebecki who can offensively wrestle, gets a lot of people out of there, looked better than ever in that matchup after looking horrific in the cardio department, but more Orolbai started to wear on him as the fight went on. And I think that Mykybek Orolbai probably has the best motor on the entire slate if I'm looking. And the work rate is admirable. And I think he's going to be able to weaponize his cardio in multiple matchups. I think this is a competitive matchup. I don't have any stats on Tofiq Musayev, but I know from memory of how he looks. The Shabli fight, the Rizin fights, he hits really hard. he has shown a susceptibility to get submitted. He has shown a susceptibility to take a shot to the body, questionable area of where it landed, but ended up getting TKO'd from it technically because they declared it wasn't low and he was trying to say it was. Um, I think he's beatable, and I think Musayev's very good, and he might be the only fighter from this area, the home country fighter that loses, and what better way to get Orolbai a matchup than to have a home country fighter step in a very difficult matchup just to be a part of the card. So that's the way I'm looking at it. I think Musayev's just on this card due to the situation. He is live to make this competitive. I just don't see him knocking out Mykybek Orolbai. I don't see him outworking him. But I do think that it is going to be competitive in moments because he's skilled. He's very, very skilled. But I got more to work with from Mykybek Orolbai at the UFC level. And the inactivity and just kind of being iced on the sidelines is something I'm a little hesitant to pull the trigger on from an underdog standpoint for Tofiq Musayev. Because when you're iced on the sidelines from inactivity, it does take a little bit to get acclimated again. So maybe in his next fight, I will be on him and wanting to pick him, but I'm not picking him here against Mykybek Orolbai.
Yeah, I mean, one of the stats to bring up is the fact of the 9-year difference in age between these two fighters, with Tofiq being 9 years older. Also, the 5-inch reach advantage that Orolbai has in this one, and it's. You always kind of wonder when someone hasn't fought. I mean, in well over a year and a half of kind of what is they going to look like in terms of that one. Samuel, appreciate the super chat over there. Yeah, if you're over our Discord channel, a lot of polls being put up. And one thing about Discord, it's not just about MMA. Y'all guys killing in these tennis streets.
Yeah, that's right, baby. Tennis, we tennis boys, and you would never know it. But on my father's side, big tennis family, and we have we have my father's cousin is in Canada, and I believe he coached for a Canadian national team.
Oh, wow.
And his son, so my second cousin, played for Kentucky tennis or something like that. But bro, he's nasty.
Oh, wow.
Like I love tennis, and I bet tennis all the time. It's one of my favorite sports to bet and play DFS on, and I have a pretty good read whether they're from what court they're playing on, whether they're on clay or vice versa, or they're on grass lately. I do love it, and it's one of the sports that I've had and found a ton of success.
Yeah. If you be sure to join that Discord channel if you want to get some of that the tennis talk that is going on there, along with the mixed martial arts talk that's in there. Next up, we got Sadykhov taking on Motta. Motta 6,800 on DK. Sadykhov is 9,400. He's the second most expensive fighter this week on DraftKings. 3-0-1 in the UFC for Sadykhov. Coming off that first round TKO doctor stoppage win back in February against Ismail Bonfini. Look at Nikolas Motta, very quietly unbeaten in his last 3 fights, coming off a unanimous decision win against Machate. But one of the things you do got to point out, Pete, is that both of Nikolas Motta's UFC losses have come via TKO/KO.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a fight to target, just because the salary of Motta is always enticing, because he's talented, right? Offensively, he's talented, but defensively, he leaves some to be desired. I think that he's chinny. I think that he's demonstrated the fact that he can get cracked, can get hurt, can get knocked out, also can get submitted. So I would label him volatile, but I would label him a volatile option with upside, right? Because he is good enough offensively to handle Nazim Sadykhov. He is making adjustments and changes, training at a very reputable gym, and a longtime Extreme Couture guy now and lately has been at Bangtao. So I like that for him, because I do think the Hickman brothers are fantastic fighters. I actually have one of our athletes going to Bangtao in a couple weeks. Going to go out there and spend some time and train. So I'm excited to hear her back and hear how it was. Um, but I think, fighters can make all the adjustments in the world, but to the core, they're the same fighter. And I think that Motta just makes some mistakes. I think there are some counters, especially going up against a guy who's very slick, and Nazim Sadykhov, that Sadykhov can execute and implement and train for. The volume is very, very similar. So if you're looking at the volume standpoint, 4.7 landed for Sadykhov, 3.64 landed for Motta, but it's the attempted where it's basically the same. 10.2 for Sadykhov, 9.8 for Motta. So still a nudge in the Sadykhov direction, but when this guy is a minus 450, you don't want to see that, because if Sadykhov is not clearly piecing him up, this fight could look a lot closer than it really is. I do think that the more damaging and the cleaner strikes and the finishing upside is on Sadykhov's side. In addition to that, I think the takedowns are something that's an interesting wrinkle and an interesting spot for Sadykhov to implement, right? 1.54 takedowns landed per 15 minutes translates to about 2.5 attempted for the whole fight. Motta's had solid takedown defense, but when he was on the mat against Trey Ogden, it clearly showed a deficiency within his game. And I think that Sadykhov can use a well-rounded skill set to win this fight. But at the price tag of 9,400, we need crazy volume, which he's not really a crazy volume guy, or we need tons of takedowns, not really a crazy takedown guy. We need a finish. And I do think that he can find it. He's got really, really good kicks, as evidence in the Bonfim fight, which led to a cut finishing the fight. And he's got a beautiful straight left hand. I think he can find the shot to knock out Nikolas Motta. And when Motta's been knocked out, man, he's been knocked out in brutal fashion. So, yeah. Do I like the minus 450? No. But I am going to pick Nazim Sadykhov. I think he should be like 2.5 to 1. Minus 450. I mean, we're starting to get ridiculous with these lines. But give me Sadykhov to beat Motta here.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this now for a couple weeks now, where it's just like, man, it's just we get so many big favorites. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the PFL card this week. Kevin Lee is a 10 to 1 betting underdog against Godzi, who's 18 to 1. Yeah, I know. Even though Godzi in the quarterfinals look absolutely amazing, and Kevin Lee stepping up on short notice to take this matchup. But yeah, it just seems like the past couple weeks with the UFC is just we've just had some very wide lines. I like Sadykhov in this position. Next up, we got Naimov taking on Bogdan. Bogdan is 7,400 on DK. Naimov is 8,800. Naimov 4-1 in the UFC. His only loss in the promotion did come via submission. Last fight coming off a unanimous decision win back there in February. Bogdan made his UFC debut back in February, getting that win against Lucas Alexander. He's won 4 in a row. 3 of those have come via stoppage, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting fight, right? Because when I'm looking at Muhammad Naimov, he's a guy that I never thought was going to be as good as he is. Let me pull up his stat sheet. Muhammad Naimov. When I see the Dana White's Contender Series fight, losing to Colin Anglin, I didn't think much of it. I didn't think that he was going to do well. So forgive me when he comes in against Jamie Malarkey and just knocks out Malarkey, who has a motor but no chin. Okay, you beat a chinny guy, no problem. So when he goes up against my guy, Nathaniel Wood, I'm fully expecting Nathaniel Wood to ice him up, just completely smoke him in all areas. Picks up a unanimous decision victory. How the hell is this guy beating Nathaniel Wood but losing to Colin Anglin? Granted, it's a difference in 3 years, so he developed significantly. He knocked out Eric Silva early in round 1, got submitted against Felipe Lima in round 3, but it was a very close fight in the Felipe Lima until the 3rd round. And Lima is one of the best prospects in the game, which I believe he's fighting Peyton Talbot. So, banger. And Talbot, man, what a fall from grace. And then most recently picking up a unanimous decision win over Khan Ofli. So, this guy, Muhammad Naimov, has wrestling to stifle you, to pick up 5.5 minutes over the wrestling of Khan Ofli, pick up 4 takedowns against Nathaniel Wood, and 6.5 minutes against Nathaniel Wood of control time. Not only that, this guy has thunderous power, and he reminds me of like, oh shoot, I just had it. I had it in my head of who I thought he reminded me of, where that he'll absorb a shot, and then just land one thunderous punch. It's kind of like Mark Hunt in a way. Like Mark Hunt, like not a big combo guy unless he needed to be, but like would just wait and just land that one big shot, and he's hurting people and he's knocking them out. And Muhammad Naimov going up against Bogdan Grad, when I'm looking at the volume, it looks like Grad should beat the shit out of Muhammad Naimov. 5.83 strikes landed per minute for Bogdan Grad, 2.94 for Muhammad Naimov. So it translates to 11 thrown for Grad and 7 thrown for Naimov. But I think that that's exactly how the fight's going to go. Grad's going to be landing the volume, just sitting there pitter-pattering his way, working his way into the fight, and then gets a little too greedy on a combination, and all of a sudden he's staring up at the lights because he got hit with a counter hook. Big shots coming from Muhammad Naimov. Not to mention the wrestling. The wrestling is there. Yes, Grad has shown some success with wrestling as well. I just fully expect Naimov to be the better wrestler here. 1.85 takedowns per 15 minutes, 36% takedown accuracy translates to 5 takedowns attempted per 15 minutes. 3.5 technically for Bogdan Grad, 40% accuracy leads to 8 takedowns attempted. I don't believe that. I just don't believe that. I think that Muhammad Naimov is the guy that can put it all together, and he has the power, if he's down on scorecards, to change and turn the tide of a fight. So I'm going to go Muhammad Naimov, and I think that people could be value hunting here at Bogdan Grad. According to my pace rating, Bogdan Grad has one of the highest paces on the entire slate. So, not a bad thing to put high-paced fighters a part of your underdog pool, because if they don't get knocked out, he's on his way to winning a unanimous decision victory. But I do think that he gets knocked out, truthfully. I think that Muhammad Naimov cracks him. I mean, when you get cracked and knocked out on the Contender Series against a guy in Tom Nolan that I'm not really, really too fond of or too high on, I think that you're going to get cracked and knocked out against Muhammad Naimov. So give me Naimov here, Jason.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Naimov call in terms of that one. Next up, we have got a matchup where you've got our biggest salary fighter on the card. That is Oban Elliott, 9,500, taking on Ko at 6,700 in this situation. Oban Elliott's always been kind of a guy that I've been waiting for the right moment to fade. I still don't think this is the right moment to fade, but to me, he's a guy that at some point we're going to fade him, but I just don't think this is a matchup, Pete.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think that this is the matchup to fade him at all. I think that Oban Elliott, I know that you want to fade him. You're not a believer. I think I think he's improving. I think he's getting good. Younger guy, good experience, height and reach advantage, good boxing, good wrestling, high fight IQ. That's why I like this guy. This guy is smart. A lot of these fighters that we're watching, they're boneheaded. They got no game plan. They got no strategist a part of their team. They go in there and choose the path of most resistance instead of choose the path of least resistance. Get in there and do what is the easiest. If your opponent has a deficiency, exploit it even more. Minus 500 for Oban Elliott. I think it's warranted. I think he's that good. I just don't think for DFS though, he's not a guy that's going to go out there and throw crazy numbers. 8.6 strikes attempted, 4.32 takedowns attempted. I think he's going to win here. I really think he's going to win. I'm not sold on Ko coming in here. I think he's a tough opponent. And I think, unless we start talking about some legitimate fighters that can hurt Oban Elliott as much as he was hurt on the Contender Series, to make him dig deep and overcome and deal with some adversity, I'm just not going to be steering away from Oban Elliott. So yeah, I'm not in love with the price tag, 9,500, but it makes sense. It's just not a DFS play for me. So give me Oban Elliott any way he wants. I say decision.
Yeah, I'm look, it's I agree with you that we have seen improves, but he's just one of those guys that every time I watch him fight, I'm just like, man, at some point I'm going to fade this guy, but it's got to be the right matchup. I think this is kind of, I think the UFC is doing a really good job in getting him into the right matchups here. Next up, we got JunYong Park taking on Ismail. Ismail 7,500. JunYong Park is at 8,700. This is the second UFC stint for Ismail. Of course, he is coming off a unanimous decision win against Bruno Silva. All of his UFC fights have gone the distance. Of course, when you look at JunYong Park, last time we saw him was back in October when he got that split decision win against Brad Tavares.
Yeah, I mean, this fight's interesting, right? Because you have a guy in Ismail Naurdiev who's been around for a while, came into the UFC a little young in the game, left the UFC, had a second half of his career where he's clearly leveled up and developed. And I feel like he's being underestimated here against Park. And I understand Park has had a good amount of experience, but Park to me has been very, very inconsistent. And I can't really put my finger on which Park is going to show up. Is it the guy who's going to get ragdolled against Andre Muniz, 11 takedowns against the jiu-jitsu artist, losing a split decision? Is it a guy who just had a nail-biter split decision against Brad Tavares? Or is it the guy that was on a 3-fight submission streak over Joseph Holmes, Dennis Tallulah, and Albert Duraev? I'll give him the Duraev fight because Duraev, known to be a gasser, and that happened in round 2. I thought that Duraev offensively, he was dangerous, and he was a pretty skilled fighter. Tallulah and Joseph Holmes doesn't do anything to me. And in the Eric Anders performance, I mean, he's got 3 split decisions in his past 6 fights. So it's just like, he's fighting and competing like very close to his opposition. And I do think that a guy in Naurdiev is dangerous. I think that Naurdiev is pretty damn good. Ismail Naurdiev is going to go out there and not necessarily throw high volume, but throw with an accurate clip of 53% striking accuracy, looks clean, can wrestle, can actually go out there and offensively wrestle Park here, because 1.6 takedowns per 15 minutes, 40% accuracy translates to 4 takedowns attempted, going up against Park's 57% takedown defensive rating. So, I mean, I like Naurdiev in this spot, Jason. And it's one where I just think he's a well-rounded fighter. And I think Park is too, but I don't know if Park's going to be able to get out of first gear here against Naurdiev, because Naurdiev can stifle a lot of Park's attempts. If you look, Naurdiev has 66% striking defense. That's excellent. That's very good. And then you look, 72% takedown defense. So outside of throwing crazy volume, which Park isn't a volume monster by any means, I think that this is going to come down to who's efficient. And I'm going to be picking Naurdiev here. Ismail Naurdiev, I think he's going to win a decision. 8,700 for Park. I don't see him finishing Naurdiev. So I was kind of expecting like the 8,400 range, it being somewhat close, like 8,400, 7,800, like our main event is. But yeah, I'm cool with getting behind Naurdiev here as my third underdog of the card.
Yeah, I mean, the price tag, I think, kind of maybe might scare some people away from Park in this one at that 8,700 price tag. I mean, we got a ton of fighters in that 8,000 range this week. Next up, we got a rematch. I don't know how many people realize this is a rematch.
Yeah, it's a rematch.
Yeah, from Aries, where Melissa Mullins got a first round victory there, taking on Darya, who's 7,200. Melissa Mullins, one of our 9,000 fighters this week. You look at Melissa Mullins. Very rightfully, she should be the favorite in this one. You look at her opponent coming off a loss against Aileen Perez in her last matchup.
Yeah, being a rematch, it's interesting because it's how many years removed from the initial encounter? Like 3-4 years, something like that. Let me look real quick.
2022.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot can happen over 3 years. And you and I both know that when Rafael Fiziev fought Justin Gaethje, Granted, it was on short notice in the rematch, not ideal circumstances at all. You know, you tend to want to get behind the fighter who lost to make adjustments because no fight is the same, you know. But the longer the fight gap in between fights, the more chance for fighters to develop. So I totally think Zhelezniakova could come in here improved. The issue is that, like we've seen, her deficiency is in the takedown defense department. And that's where Melissa Mullins should go out there and look to exploit her. I mean, you know, that's what Mullins does. Like, Mullins can go out there and take you down, land ferocious ground and pound en route to finishing you. She just did it against Claudia Saigula. You know, she's done it. She did it to Darya Zhelezniakova back in 2022. You know, so she knows a path to beating Darya Zhelezniakova. Zhelezniakova, meanwhile, has, you know, she just got arm triangled in round 1 against Aileen Perez, who she is not a submission artist. That is her second submission win, a part of her entire career. But Zhelezniakova was able to beat Montserrat Rendon. You know, and as long as the fight is on the feet, she's live to spoil the party and end up with a unanimous decision or a split decision because of how much volume, not how much volume, but, you know, how proficient she is in the striking in comparison to her grappling. You know, like, if you look, her striking defense sits at 79%, which is crazy. You know, and Zhelezniakova can go out there and throw more volume than Mullins on the feet. 8.6 attempted in comparison to Mullins' 6.1. But it's going to come down to the takedowns, right? Like, Mullins may just need one, but seeing 1.53 takedowns per 15 minutes with 37% accuracy translating to 4, you know, let's say Mullins doesn't finish her. Is 4 attempted takedowns enough to get it done? Because based on the takedown accuracy, a takedown defense rating might result in only 2. And, you know, the takedowns could come at the end of the round. A lot could happen. It could come at early in the round and she could get up. But, yeah, I mean, Mullins is clearly the favorite here. But I have some sneaky suspicion, right? Like, with all this time and this gap of the first fight, you know, sometimes these fighters come in a little too overconfident, think it's going to be the same exact fight. I wonder how Mullins handles a situation where it's completely on the feet against Zhelezniakova, who is younger, who does have a height and reach advantage, who is the better striker. What happens if this is a forced kickboxing fight? I think at 7,200, she should be a part of your player pool just because it's women's MMA. It's very volatile. 3 years removed from the initial fight. And if there's one fighter, a part of this fight, that wants redemption, you know what I mean? It's Zhelezniakova. She wants to right her wrong. So I get how Mullins is the pick. I still will pick Mullins. But I wanna be daring and go as Zhelezniakova. But man, the ground game does seem from the fight film, from the Aileen Perez fight, it's just like, all right, well, still not patched up. So yeah, give me Mullins here, but I definitely will be thinking about getting to more Zhelezniakova.
Yeah, it's kind of, you know, I'm very much a big believer that when we're talking about rematches, that the fighter who lost the first fight has a little bit of an edge just because they realize what went wrong, you know, and why ultimately they didn't go out there and get the victory in terms of it. Now, something I will say that you want to pay attention to in terms of this fight card is going down that Instagram rabbit hole and start seeing when fighters flew into this fight card.
Yeah.
I just saw something on X a little while ago. Brian Butler, who is the manager of Jamahal Hill, his connection into the country was supposed to be 2.5 hours. Ended up being a 5-hour flight because they would not fly into the airspace of Iran. So something, as this week goes on, maybe start looking, seeing who are the fighters that got there early. Maybe were there 7 days out, 10 days out, and maybe those fighters that are maybe coming in and how much it could affect the weight cut. Those are all something to pay attention in terms of there. We've got 3 more matchups here left. Arana at 8,900 taking on Claudia at 7,300. Pete, the one thing about this one is, well, they both have the same last opponent. And it's a fighter we just talked about in Melissa Mullins. But the one thing is about Rena, that was it's been a little bit of a while since her last matchup here, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting fight. And one where, like, it's a head scratcher for me because Alexieva, I don't know what to expect from this girl. I really don't. I mean, she knee-barred the hell out of Stephanie Yeager, but relatively green. I mean, both fighters are very green. I mean, she was tough enough to go 15 minutes with Melissa Mullins. Claudia Saigula, 6-2. Questionable strength of schedule. And she was finished via ground and pound to Melissa Mullins in the second round. I think this fight's going to come down to physicality a lot. And I do think that despite Saigula being 8 years younger, having 2 inches in the height plus reach department, that, like, Arina Alexieva, I would imagine, would be the more physical fighter and the fighter that may look to implement some takedowns. Arina Alexieva on the feet does throw with higher volume. Granted, this is a small sample size for both fighters, but 3.84 significant strikes landed per minute, 43% accuracy translates to 8.9 strikes attempted per minute, whereas Saigula, granted, very, very small sample size, poor performance too. 1.89 significant strikes landed per minute, 37% accuracy translates to 5 strikes attempted per minute. I think it comes down to the takedowns, right? Like, we saw Saigula not have good takedown defense in that Melissa Mullins fight. 80.87 takedowns attempted, takedowns landed per 15 minutes for Arina Alexieva. 20% accuracy, Jason. Absolutely horrible accuracy, my lord. But that means that she's attempting 4.35 takedowns per 15 minutes, going up against a fighter with a 33% takedown defense rating. It might be a takedown around, and that's all she wrote. I think that Arina Alexieva should win this fight. This is really, like, a couple of really low-level fights. So, like, volatility is surrounding both of these fights. But, I mean, there's nothing I saw from Saigula that makes me want to back her. I think that if anybody has a grappling path, I'm going to go with the better grappler here in Arina Alexieva. She better go out there and try. Because I just don't think that she's the best striker. So give me Alexieva to I think she might get a pretty dominant victory on the mat. But at 8,900, I don't hate it. Like, I don't love it. I don't hate it either. It's just kind of there. Do I trust her? Absolutely not. But I'm going to be backing her here. So give me Arina Alexieva to pull off the victory over Saigula.
Yeah, I mean, that price tag of 8,900, it's that's the concerning thing for me, paying off that price tag in terms of maybe some of those 9,000 options that we have out there. Next up, we got Ulanbekov taking on Azat 6,900, Tagir at 9,300. We haven't seen Azat in a while. Tagir, man, the price tag is the thing that really sticks out to me on him, Pete.
Am I getting Khabib Nurmagomedov? What's going on? Why am I getting Ulanbekov at 9,300? I mean, like, yeah, he has great takedowns. But in general, I feel like I watch this guy and I'm like, man, you're a flyweight. Like, your activity level should be off the charts. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, you should be going out there and attempting 15 strikes per minute and, 8 takedowns per fight. And I'm looking and I'm like, this guy doesn't throw shit. He lands 3.13 strikes per minute. What the hell? Jason Floyd lands 3.13 strikes landed per minute over a darts game. Over a dart game, you know what I mean? A dart match, dart game, whatever the hell it is. 6.65 strikes attempted for Tagir Ulanbekov. It's like, what is this guy doing? And yes, he does grapple, but like 3.56 takedowns landed per 15 minutes. He's a lay and pray artist. 47% takedown accuracy, 7.5 takedowns attempted per fight. I feel in general, if you're a flyweight, you just got to have way more activity everywhere, not just in one area. Maybe his takedowns are just so good that he doesn't need to strike more. But guess what? There are matchups when I've seen his takedowns not look great. So I would just love to see Tagir Ulanbekov throw more volume. If you want to compete, man, you gotta like imagine him against Alexandre Pantoja. The guy throws 20 strikes per minute and attempts like 5 takedowns in a round. You know, so I don't know. I just don't understand low volume flyweights. It doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, so all in all, Tagir has a path here of landing takedowns. I think he can land like 2 to 3. And Azat Maxim is a very talented athlete. According to small sample size, he throws a lot. He might be blindfolded because 23% striking accuracy, 22% takedown accuracy. I don't know what the hell. He might need his glasses or something and get new contacts. But 12 strikes attempted per minute and 9 takedowns attempted per 15 minutes. So Maxim's good. Maxim's good enough to possibly spoil the debut, spoil this big favorite spot for Ulanbekov. My worries is that just like you lost to Charles Johnson, you know, I don't see you beating Tagir Ulanbekov. I just don't, you know, and he has like everything about him is empty. I don't see any damage. I don't see any threatening situations. If I go back and I look, you know, Charles Johnson even landed 2 takedowns against him. Charles Johnson had no control, but went 2 of 6 in the takedown department, just like giving him a different look. If Charles Johnson's landed 2 takedowns, I think Tagir's landing 2+, you know, and I also think there's going to be control time to boot. So give me Tagir Ulanbekov, but I mean, you know, don't get it twisted. You know, Azat Maxim's good. It's just this is a very difficult fight, and he is 15-1 going up against a 16-2 Tagir Ulanbekov. If you need an absolute dart throw, I kind of don't hate it because like Maxim was supposed to be the shit coming into the UFC, and he hasn't really done much. I mean, yeah, he had a good debut. I can't even say that. It was a split decision. I thought he finished somebody, but he didn't. But yeah, I mean, lots of hype, no results. Tagir should go in here and pick up. Tagir should go in here and pick up another dominant win. But 6,900 is a very, very tempting price tag for somebody who has a ton of victories and only 2 defeats within his career.
And something you to mention here is the fact of this is a replacement opponent. Ulanbekov was initially supposed to take on Koji Horiguchi, who's returning to UFC, but he had to pull out of the fight a couple of weeks ago. Their opening fight of the night. Who do you trust more? That is about the best way to put this one. These heavyweights, Hamdi and Mo Usman. Mo at 7,600. Hamdi at 8,600. Hamdi coming off that split decision win against Jamahal Pokes. Of course, that was his first fight after coming off a USADA suspension. Mo Usman, you know, just he's a decision fighter, and that's what we hate in the heavyweight division. We're looking for guys who can go out there and finish. Just Mo Usman's just not that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, not at all. And guys, thank you so much for all your support. We really appreciate it. If you hit that like button, get us over 100 likes. It goes a long way. Comment something on the video, whether it's a question or a comment, or your favorite underdog of the card. We really appreciate it. Share the show with your friends. Join our Discord. Sam, thank you so much for the super chat. Everybody just really, really appreciate you. Back to this horrible fight. Hamdi Abdel Wahab, 8,600. Mo Usman, 7,600. 2 guys I don't have any stock in their finishing abilities. You know, I mean, Hamdi Abdel Wahab is a guy who has popped for PEDs in the past. Mo Usman's a guy that has, you know, the Usman last name. You know, he's tough, but, you know, if you're going to be Usman, go out there and wrestle like Usman. The problem is he's going up against a very, very talented wrestler in Hamdi Abdel Wahab. I don't see him having takedown upside or takedown success here. There are other matchups where against low level heavyweights where we could get behind a Mo Usman, you know, getting a takedown per round or something like that. But I just don't see it here against Hamdi Abdel Wahab. Hamdi hasn't been taken down at all. He landed 3 takedowns against Dontel Mays. Had 6.5 minutes of control time. Had one takedown against Jamahal Pogues. Didn't have the most control time, and that was a very questionable performance, and one where I thought he lost personally. So yeah, I mean, this is one where like heavyweight fights typically finish inside the distance. Tons of volatility, tons of danger. But I just don't see it from either guy. I mean, Mo Usman's been the guy. Let me check out their records. But Mo Usman has had some pretty big finishes within his career. Does have 4 knockouts, and one of those came against Zach Pauga in 2022. I remember that fight. And then some first-round finishes in Titan FC. Yeah, Titan FC. So nothing too crazy. Hamdi Abdelwahab, a guy that, outside the UFC, 2 first-round finishes. I thought it said bare knuckle BKFC, ground and pound. I'm like, well, why the hell are they ground and pounding somebody in BKFC? But bare knuckle MMA. Yeah, I think like if there's somebody that can utilize their wrestling to get into an advantageous position, it's Hamdi Abdelwahab. You just got to go out there and be a little bit more hungry, man. They both do. Because if I'm looking at the strikes attempted, 9.4 attempted for Usman, horrible accuracy of 36%. 6.6 attempted for Abdelwahab, 51% accuracy. So, like, I mean, it's going to be a close fight if somebody doesn't initiate wrestling. And I need Hamdi Abdelwahab to go out there and lace up those wrestling shoes, because if you get a big guy on the mat, they're probably staying there for a very long time when you have another big guy on top of them. The 7 inches in height plus reach department for Usman, man. Jason's fight of the night, first fight of the night. What the hell do we do here? I mean, God, I might throw up. But I am going to back Abdelwahab. I don't blame people if they hate that Pogues fight so much that they're never going to back this guy again. I do think that there might be some underlying upside to Abdelwahab within this division, whereas I'm pretty sure I know what Usman is. Like Abdelwahab might be somewhat of a hidden gem, like mid-tier. Definitely not going to be high tier. But I know Usman is capped. Like Usman, I know what he's going to be. He's bottom of the barrel. So give me Abdelwahab. I'll slightly lean with what I think is some hidden upside in multiple areas. But I don't blame anybody if you want to not touch this fight with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah. I want to see what ownership looks like in terms of this one. I don't want to touch the Usman side of this equation, and maybe it'll be proven to be a bad take on my aspect, but I just
say sub 20%. You taking anybody?
If you told me Hamdi's sub 20, I would.
What's untouchable for you with him? If he's sitting at 30, you ain't touching him. Right?
Oh no. Because I just can see it just not score. It's the fantasy score upside. And like with Mo Usman, like he's not his brother. I mean, let's just call it what it is. He's not his brother. And and I think he's probably fighting for his UFC job at this point. Let's get into our straight up fight picks before we get into some listener questions here. Your main event, give me underdog number 1, Jamahal Hill.
Jamahal Hill, brother.
Co-main, give me underdog number 2 and Rafael Fiziev.
Yeah, Rafael Fiziev for me.
I'll go Blaydes.
Yeah, I just don't know too much about Kuniev to pick him over Blaydes. So give me Blaydes.
Orolbai. Sadykhov.
Nazim Sadykhov, yep.
Naimov. Elliott. I'm going to go Park.
All right, that's fair. I'm going to go Naurdiev.
Give me Mullins.
Yeah, I got to go Mullins for straight up.
I'll go Arena
Alexieva.
Ulanbekov. And then I'll go Hamdi. Don't feel good about it. Yeah, don't feel good about that one, by the way. I'll just say that one right now. Get some questions from Discord. Start off with Sam with his usual question. Best top plays. I feel really I feel confident in Oban Elliott.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if he scores the price tag we want.
Totally agree. I don't think many of the 9,000 options pop.
I mean, Sadykhov, maybe if he goes out there and gets a first round stoppage, Blaydes, if he could chain wrestle. I mean, I think they would be the two in the 9,000 range that I would stick at and say, looking at from a fantasy score upside position, that those are guys who've got 100 to 115 point upside.
Yep.
I mean, it can't be worse than last week.
Bro, when I sat there and I was looking at the scores, I'm like, nobody did anything. It's insane.
Yeah, absolutely insane. Other ones that I would look at, man. I mean, those would be the top three plays for me. It's just, can they pay off the price tag? Live dogs, Hill, Fiziev.
Naurdiev for me.
Yeah, with you on that one. Best decision odds fighters. I think probably the co-main event is probably a fight that's likely going to go the distance. I haven't looked at the over-under on that one. I'm sure it's probably juiced on the -2.5. You're probably not going to get a ton of value in terms of that one. I would say this. I'd be interested to see what the over 1.5 rounds is on Blaydes and Kuniev. That's going to be interesting to see what that prop is at.
Oh, my God. You be sweating that, bro.
Oh, I know. Oh, heavyweight MMA. Yeah.
Gotta be sweating the hell out of that.
Other decisions. The Park fight. Just put all the female fights.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
The decision odds, saying women's MMA is a cheat code. The co-main event, definitely think so. Naurdiev and Park, I think so as well. I mean, this could be a long card. I mean, it really could be.
Yeah, very, very well could. Yeah. Hey, at least, if you're here on the East Coast, the fight's be over by about 6 o'clock Eastern time, so you can.
That's true.
Look, hey, you know what? It's perfect. You sit there, you say, hey, I can watch the fights during the afternoon, and then you can do family time at night. I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah. I mean, think about it, man. Football Sunday. We all love Football Sunday. So, when my dad put on his show and we did it on a Sunday, it actually popped. It was a very good decision because a lot of people ain't got nothing to do on a Sunday. I mean, other than family time, but it's it was cool. It worked out really well. That's why I like daytime MMA, whether it's Saturday or Sunday. It's ideal for people with busy lives.
Yeah. I mean, you can wake up Saturday morning, figure out your DFS lineups, figure out your bets and go from there in terms of that one. Top inside distance fighters. I look at the main event. I think is probably the one that jumps out to me the most. Nazim Sadykhov would be another one that jumps out to me. Any other fighter that jump out to you as inside the distance?
Inside the distance, Sadykhov definitely is. I think Jamahal Hill clearly is. Mullins might be. I mean, think about it. Zhelezniakova looked bad. Eileen Perez was able to pick up an arm triangle. She's got 2 submissions in her whole life. So whether it's ground and pound, Mullins has already done it. Tagir, no. Hamdi Abdelwahab, maybe, but I doubt it. Yeah, I mean, last week, Jason, I put money on I don't know how many people to win by KO, win by submission, win inside the distance. Guess what? Nobody did anything. So, yeah, Vegas loved it last week. Everybody, thinking it was going to be an aggressive card. And I have to tell you, I think it's going to be a pretty timid card for this one, but maybe not. Maybe the home country in Baku, I think maybe it's going to be a wild night or wild afternoon for us. But it's not projecting that way. It's projecting to be a long decision, competitive fights type of night.
Next up, Sam asked about favorite parlays. I'm not going to overthink this.
Yeah.
I'll just put Jamahal Hill and Rafael Fiziev together.
Ooh, I like that. Did your parlay hit last week? I don't remember.
Nip. Bro,
I didn't win shit last week. All I got was an education. I didn't get anything else.
To say it was a brutal week.
Bro, I know.
I'll just go down here. I had a unit.
You don't want to hear mine. Go ahead.
I had a unit on Cody Durden winning at plus 165. That's L number one. I had a 3-fighter parlay that I hit 2 of the 3 legs.
No, son of a bitch. What was the third?
Wellmaker to win via decision. I thought maybe Moutinho could do a little better, but
okay.
I was way wrong on that. Way wrong on that.
That was not a
sorry, Chris.
That's okay.
Hey, sorry, Chris. You're going to be on the UFC highlight reel for a long time.
Yeah, I know.
That's good. Yeah. I had Phil Rowe at plus 120 and Kiesa at plus 130 in that parlay. Yeah, that would have been nice. That was a plus 3,000 parlay.
Bro, you need to do it because Wellmaker was so heavy, so high chalk.
Yeah. Then I had then my Bellotto bet gets voided.
Bro, I had him by KO every round, and I'm like, dude, it should have been a DQ. I should have won that bet. But that's not the reason why I'm saying it should have been a DQ. Yeah. But yeah. Okay, I'm with you on that.
All right, had Abdul Malik wins round 1.
Yeah, bro, that was bullshit too. Oh God, I hated last week.
Cody Garbrandt money line at plus 190.
Yeah, he looked good for about 2 minutes.
And then I took a flyer on Rose to win via inside the distance at plus 600.
Yeah, I thought maybe she could submit her too.
I thought she might be able to knock her out. That she would be able to catch Miranda coming in, and look, man, it happens. It happens. That's why I'm bouncing back this week. This week.
It was still a winnable week for us. What did I put on Patreon? The projections, it went well, but a couple spots I got a little too greedy. I went with Vanessa Demopoulos just because. She was aggressive, but she definitely just not skilled enough. We went 8-4-1. Should have been 9-4-1, and that's including the Demopoulos shitty ass pick.
I'm telling you, if Bellotto doesn't put on the acting job he did, I think he gets a DQ.
I don't know though. You think that was why they didn't do that?
Man, it was a bad look, bro.
He should have just finished the heel hook he had on Kevin.
Oh God, I got one of the funniest.
Poor Kevin. I like Kevin a lot. Kevin's a good guy. He's a good ref too. I think they just got that wrong.
Oh, I'm trying to. I gotta find this one where Buddy sent me a meme, and I thought.
Bro, the Bellotto memes are crazy.
This one is the caption is Raf Bellotto seconds after soberly looking over at the ref and raising his hands to protest the illegal up kick.
Oh, bro, the Bellotto memes. I saved one. I thought I saved one. I was laughing hysterically, Jason. I couldn't believe it. I was dying. How do I go?
Dude, there is. I'll have to send you this. This one that I sent that got sent to me by someone in the industry. Just absolutely hilarious in terms of that one. Gets Sam's other question here. Jason Pete special. Sam, I do not want to touch the first fight really in DFS. It's low level heavyweight action. I think I just feel like it's if Hamdi's ownership's low, could be a leverage spot, but no, thank you. And then I'm higher on the 8,200, 8,000 fight than Pete is in terms of roster.
DFS?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, that's your Fiziev and Bahamondes fight. You mentioned because you think it's going to go the distance.
Yeah, I think so. But okay, let me give you a one fight for one fight. Bahamondes Fiziev, 8,200, 8,000,
Mm-hmm.
or Park Naurdiev. Let's say that salary is not an issue. What
I'd
fight
rather go.
scores more?
I'd oof.
What fight scores more? Because to me, it's very similar.
Yeah.
And I guess if it's very similar,
I would. In that situation, if you told me, I'd probably rather go Naurdiev at 7,500, but I'd rather get to the co-main.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they can both. The one thing that's making me want to get to the co-main a little bit more is the fact of Fiziev being fired up. It's in his home country. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's really, really a big talking point and one that can elevate his game. It could
Mm-hmm.
also work the opposite way too, right? He could go out there super emotional and get cracked and hurt and knocked out. But I mean, these guys are chomping at the bit to fight in their home countries, and they're gonna wear that like a badge of honor that they get to go out there and perform. So it's very hard for me to get away from a home country guy. That's why Tofiq Musayev's the only one that I'm getting away
Mm-hmm.
uh, from from Baku.
Top captains and MVPs. Could Mykybek Orolbai be a really interesting MVP captain play this week?
Yeah, what's his salary at for it?
80. I mean, well, I don't know what this captain contest will be, but he's 8,500 on DK. So you're gonna save a little bit of money.
Yeah. All right. Let me look and see who I have landing the most takedowns. I have Orolbai landing the most takedowns, but I don't have stats. I have my own projected
Yeah.
stats for Tofiq Musayev. Uh, I think Curtis Blaydes is a good one too, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's a lot of unknowns surrounding Kuniev. He could just be a guy that they're giving Blaydes to kind of just get back into the win column, or he could be absolutely legit. Um, but I kind of like the Mykybek Orolbai. That he needs to fight at a high pace if he's going to beat Tofiq Musayev.
Yeah. Highest leverage plays in the high 8Ks. It's probably Park and Hamdi.
Yes, Bahamdi, baby.
God, you're not going to feel good about it, though.
I'm
Road to,
feeling good. I'm rostering Hamdi with the craziest confidence, blind confidence right here. Olympic wrestler, gonna get 10 BS takedowns of Usman going to his knees, standing back up, going back to his knees, standing back up. Just gonna rinse and repeat.
Mhm.
Just stat padding over here for Hamdi Abdelwahab.
Over under 6.5. I'm going to say under.
Less. Yeah, under that. That's high, Sam. What happened to you?
Yeah. Tristan, best leverage play. I think you're going to be. You got to look at the fires from 8,900 to 8,600. I think those are going to be the fires that you're probably. And there might be some 9,000 fighters that have low ownership.
You ready? You ready for mine? I
Okay.
got two. Zhelezniakova going up against Mullins,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that'll be pretty popular. I think Maxim is probably a crazy leverage play because Tagir Ulanbekov, the name, Team Habib, takedowns. Maxim's looked bad against Charles Johnson, Tyson Nam, but he is 15-1, going up against a 16-2 Tagir Ulanbekov. So that could be a guy that could spoil the night for everybody.
Best takedown upside.
Orolbai.
Like it. Rank the 9K options. So we got 5 9K options. I'm the
And
most
then Blaydes.
confident.
Orolbai, then Blaydes.
Yeah, I'm most confident in Oban Elliott. I just don't think he has the highest fantasy score upside in this range. I'd probably go from a fantasy score upside. I think I would go Sadykhov, Ulanbekov, Blaydes, Elliott, Mullins.
I'm going to go Sadykhov, Blaydes, Mullins, Ulanbekov, Elliott. That's how I'm going to rank those.
And we'll leave on this question, which was punt plays. I'm going to say Kuniev would be my best punt play. Just it's heavyweight MMA at 7,100. And I know you, would you say Maxim would be your guy?
No. I mean, personally, no. Just because I think Maxim's going to be outclassed everywhere. And if he lost to Charles Johnson, I think he's going to lose to Tagir Ulanbekov. I would agree that it's Kuniev. I mean, you don't get rebooked and booked three times with Curtis Blaydes. He's a ranked fighter. Just fought Tom Aspinall, fought some of the best guys, fought Jailton Almeida. Like, what are we talking about here?
I wonder if this is a similar situation that is happening at bantamweight with Mario Batista. My understanding is the UFC has had a really tough time getting fighters to accept fights against him.
Against Bautista?
Yeah.
I mean, I think
that's my
nail on the head. But you're telling me there's nobody outside the rankings that wants this fight? Like there's not like anybody else. There's this guy who's debuting.
Yeah, it's a weird matchup. It's I remember when they initially announced this matchup, I was just like, wow, Blaydes can't get a top 10 guy. Like and the weird part about this, Pete, is like the heavyweight division is in the standstill. I love John Jones, but John, are you going to fight, yes or no? Like You're just holding this division up. I mean, yes, you're the greatest of all time in my mind, but at the end of the day, you're just holding this division up. Like you've got Aspinall sitting there, Cyril Gahn is sitting there going, okay, well, hey John, if you're not fighting, I should be the guy to get Aspinall. Maybe Poatan is sitting in the wings to potentially move up to heavyweight. I mean, it's just the division just is at a standstill right now.
I agree, and it shouldn't be that way. To talk about Curtis Blaydes, right? Like in tennis, form is everything. Form in court. So like what type of court they're on and the form of the player is huge. And I think in MMA, momentum's big, right? And whether which chapter of certain fighters' careers are we at? We could be at the last chapter of Curtis Blaydes. I mean, really, he's been in the high rankings for a very long time. He has shown susceptibilities everywhere, but I'm not willing to give up on him until, like, I can't pick Kuniev straight up. I can play Kuniev in DFS, no problem at all. But he is the 5th best heavyweight on the planet right now. He is ranked number 5 on UFC.com.
Hey,
I'm going to list several fighters, Jason. Okay? All these fights would have made more sense than this fight against Kuniev. Waldo Cortez Acosta, Marcin Tybura, Shamil Gaziev, Mick Parkin, Martin Boudet. I mean, like I can list more. This guy who's making his debut is fighting the number 5 guy in the world. I don't know, man. It's just weird to me. It's really weird.
Here's the other thing. We're talking about heavyweight MMA. Curtis Blaydes, 34 years old. I mean, he's if this was in another division, you might go, okay, maybe you're starting to kind of get that down. But at heavyweight, like, dude, this is the prime of his career.
Yeah, 45, he could still be fighting. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, this guy, I mean, there's no end when it comes to heavyweight. There's really no end. There's no end.
And you fight until the wheels fall off and you can't do it anymore. I mean, that's just, that's the reality of the situation. But as always, we do appreciate everyone who tunes in each and every week for the Fight HQ podcast. Of course, be sure to check out the links below. We got our Discord channel. We'll have a DraftKings contest this week. We got Pete's Patreon that you can sign up for to get Pete's algorithm and a spreadsheet that you want to follow how Pete's algorithm is saying these fights are going to go. So be sure to check out all that. So we will talk to you next week right here on the Fight HQ podcast.